Hello, everyone. This is Scott with the Saturday Service. I am very off the cuff today, and I am enjoying some coffee and my plants and the morning sun out here in the middle of somewhere in the country in the Inland Empire. I'll be here for a couple more weeks, and then I'll be closer to the Los Angeles area and a lot closer to the people and communities that are more directly involved with me. I'm still doing bookings at the studio, and I still have folks coming to see me there, usually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Um, and yeah, we're cruising along. It has been, at the time of recording this, we are in the Belton Tide or Beltane Tide, depending on who you ask here. Some people might even say Beltane. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Um, it's a modern creation that we pagans do in this anyways, and it's been adopted by New Age and modern cultures. So really, what is it about? Um, it's about a degree of Taurus, which is really in celebration of life and fertility and the fecund nature of everything. It's just opening up and all this good sort of goodness. It is a astrological shift, right? It is a time between poles, so it's opposite of that degree of Scorpio. And this is a time when all gates are open in my tradition of things, which is the Temple of Witchcraft. And that means that there's lots of potential, there's lots of possibility, there's a mercurial aspect to things as the energy between all worlds is opened up. Um, and it felt very clean for me this year. It felt very open and clean for me this year. I don't know how it was for you, or even if you really celebrated. Some people celebrate on the first, and this is when we recognize sort of like the holiday of the event, and that is absolutely acceptable. Some people recognize it on the astrological event, which is that 15 or 14 degrees of Taurus, which is opposite of that Scorpio degree. And you're in a tide of energy, and this is when it happens. And whether you want to do it on the like culturally recognized or the popularly recognized time, or you want to do it on the astrological event, entirely up to you. Remember, with the mythic things in the pagan wheel of the year, these are not literal events. These, in the sense that like it literally has to be certain ways. These are mythological events. I think, in my experience and in the way that I host circles, and when we're engaging the abstracts, when we're engaging the stories, when we're engaging the whatever. It's not about the season that's happening right now. It's about the turning of the wheel, which is the energy behind the recognition of the seasons. And in doing that, we sustain the balance of it. Because some people are like, it's the summer solstice, but it's raining. It's not the summer solstice. And it's like, yes, but it's the summer solstice in energetic, on that greater degree of what it is within the casting of the wheel. And so we recognize that and we turn the wheel regardless if it's raining or shining, right? That kind of thing. Little bits, little bits. So I'm talking about that today. What do I feel? What do I feel in this? Well, I feel like I'm generally not putting dates on these recordings anymore. And we're just going to sort of draw on some information that's out here. I'm still using the Bluebird Leonormand. Lenormand, sorry, I keep on calling it Leonormand. I'm a Leo. Um, and we're working with that deck. But I also wanted to talk about a couple of things that came up this week in conversation because it is a Saturday service. This is speaking to you from the places I've been and the conversations that I've had. And one of the biggest things that I've had this week, in which I'm really going to pull cards around, that I'd just like to see live on the internet, is the idea that bounces off last week. Um, Coexistence does not happen without spaciousness. We need to make space to coexist, right? Like these two things, one does not exist without the other. You can't have spaciousness when there's no room for everybody else, right? Um, but I also want to talk about, someone was posting a John Lennon Imagine All the People quote, sort of omitting the activist aspects of him. That's peace through engagement. is the John Lennon message, right? It's not peace through let's sing a song and kumbaya, I'll focus on love and not deal with, like focusing on problems is somehow like negative, right? It's not constructive. When we ignore problems, when we ignore the voices of the people who say they have an issue with a thing, we are excluding a valuable component to the peace process, right? So all people have to be able to come to the table. Um, and, with the tolerance paradox, including the tolerance paradox in that, we still have to be able um, to say if we want peace if we want peace, we want to coexist in that peace, that we have to be able to talk about the things and not having anyone be morally superior or the one who knows and someone else doesn't know. There's all sorts of red flags in spiritual disciplines, religions, fundamentalism, new age philosophies, energy work, all of those sorts of things in which, there's a special people club of people who are connected to the universe and other people are not. And so therefore they can see things that you can't. And until you are connected, you won't see it, etc., etc., etc. These are all spiritual ego traps, right? They're all spiritual ego traps. So we've got to watch for those things. So engaged, peace through engagement, right? Engaged activism doesn't mean anything in particular, right? It doesn't mean anything in particular because we all are showing up the way we can show up. I suggest, oop, card pops out. There we go. So we all show up in the way that we can show up. I challenge that, sometimes in myself to say, well, maybe I don't feel like this. Maybe I feel unsafe. Good. I should still show up. I should still step into that place, step into the fire and do the things that needs to be done because spirituality is not about safety and comfort, right? Spirituality is about growth and development, and safety and comfort provide a start place for us, but growth happens in the discomfort, right? So engagement, right? Peace through engagement, big thing here. Um, the card that falls out is the book and the Lenormand. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Yep, there we go. I put it on my face there. We get the book and the Lenormand. Um, so this is again a read on the inner landscape, a looking within for that information that we might need to look past the surface of things, especially uh, our perception of the surface of things. And I think that's really, we want to say don't judge a book by its cover, right? When we see the book, but really we apply that to other people and that should be applied to ourselves because we all have bias. We all have consciousness bias. We are having a bad week and then we start to think that uh, we have a bad day, and then we start to think it's a problem with this person, and then we start to have problems elsewhere, and this sort of transfers into the rest of our lives, and then suddenly, it's not just a problematic person that we're having a trouble with, like at our job or at our community center or whatever. It's a problematic world with these people, these kinds of people, doing this thing, and then that can quickly grow. It mushrooms into all of these other things, and then we're just having like a crummy experience. And it really started with us. It really started with our view of things, right? So don't judge a book by its cover. That's the book, right? It's saying like, look past this, open the pages, there's more. When we open the book, there is nuance, there is subtlety, there is the really, there's a card falls out again for us. There's subtlety, and we have the ship, which is generally a fortuitous travel card. We want to look at this in context to everything else, though. So if it's with the book, right, it's opening the book about travel. It's opening the book about transition. It's opening the book about moving spaces. It's opening the book about like where are you in your life and where are you going? Are you making vacation plans? Are you thinking about moving? Are you gonna travel to an event? Are you going to look at what, if we can expand upon that metaphysically, we might say like, what's being transmitted here? Like what are we not seeing about what's being transmitted? What's the deeper level of the transmission that's happening here? We can look at the ship not just as a concrete thing, but as um, a symbolic image about um, the possible gain that can come by traveling across the bridge, right? To going to a new location physically, but also in our hearts and minds, like, being willing to step across the boundary to cross the bridge to the other side so that we can see the wealth that's there. Like it's opening the book and digging into the pages to really see what's been written, right? There's a wealth there. There's information there for us to take in. Um, what we do with that, how we spend that coin is entirely up to us. Everything in life is transactional, and I don't mean that in a capitalistic way. I mean that in a relationship way. You always pay the coin. You always pay the coin because life is a transaction of life and death and light and dark and movement and relationships. So we choose the spaces where this is going to happen. We choose the ways in which we're going to invest or not, but also looking where we might find ourselves hesitant, pulling back, or refusing to see something more because there's information there, there's wealth there. So peace through engagement, right? Yeah. And then understanding that there's something more than what we're seeing that we can benefit from, but not just personally, but collectively, right? There's an energy there that we're sort of working with in this. I'm going to pull a third card because I just want to see what else is in here. Nothing's fallen out of the deck as I've shuffled, so we're just going to give it a 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to go 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to draw from the middle. So I'm going to take from the middle of the deck. We're going to say, what is this card? And this third card is, oh, dog, loyalty and love, right? Loyalty and love, right? And I want to just look at that dog's face for a second because, if you've had a dog, if you've been with a dog, who you've formed a relationship, you know this look. This is the look of love. And this is actually a look of pure love. This is a devotional love. Like this look that a dog gives you is absolutely loving. Um, and and there's a message here, it says, our best friend, where it's faithful and true, someone who is true to you, you know, um, we are rewarded through our love and loyalty to joy, to the relationships that bring us joy. Um, I could say, in the vein of the message that I'm getting right now, that this is also, we're all loving beings, we're all seeking joy, we're all trying to be at home in our bodies and the world, and in addition to loyalty and love that the dog has, there's a charity here. There's a charitable nature of giving, of assuming the best rather than the worst. And that's in the nature of the dog, right? So we could say engagement, peace through engagement, looking beyond the surface of the book, understanding that there's a greater wealth available to us. If we but see the other person, if we see the other scenario, or if we approach the next decision with, the grace of a charitable spirit, that like we're coming at it, that there is something greater here for our hearts than just the transaction, than just the movement, than just the exchange, right? So, the message for now, as we receive this, is engagement brings us peace. It opens the door to deeper understanding. There is more beneath the surface. There's more to the book than the cover. When we dare to read the pages, when we dare to move through the chapters and read the words of the experience, we are given the opportunity to see a greater wealth that's happening before us. There's something else transpiring if we're willing to see it. And more than that, all people involved in it are looking for love, are looking for home, are looking for belonging. And in each of us, in our eyes, meeting each other's gaze, we can see that longing in us and that desire for the possibility of coexistence, which only happens in spaciousness, and that spaciousness is only engaged, is only found through engagement. Going with, not around. No one better, no one worse. No one having more information than the other. No one more special than the other. No creation of shadow, right? When we do that. Shadow's interesting, and I'm going to end on this one. Um, it will come up as something provocative, as something scary, as something that pushes your hot button and causes you to go into an emotional state of intensity. And if we really want to get to what the heart of what the shadow is, and this is going to vary from person to person, place to place, thing to thing, depending on the situation and who's in it and what's happening. But in general, we want to get to the heart of what it is. The thing that we have to engage is the terrible face that's before us, right? Because this is the projection. This is actually the projection. So the person causing all the problems that you're about all the time, shadow. That is your shadow. That is your shadow. Doesn't dismiss or forgive the behaviors of the person. We don't go, oh, well, it's my shadow, so they're okay. No, they can and also be doing a bang up job of being a person. But the part where you perceive the hard corners, the thorny, the prickly, the fearful, the scary, the mean, the whatever the thing is there, when we push against that and deny it, we are pushing and against not only them but ourselves, and we are creating another. And this other is displaced energy, feeling, thoughts, psychic ability, psychic perception, all of these things. Psychic is in mind, not like special powers. And this is displaced, right? It is an unconscious spell that creates a kind of servitor, right? A kind of being that exists outside. And then this being circles us. It circles us, but it doesn't land in any one place. It lands while you're driving in a car and something comes on a podcast or the radio or happens in an interaction with another driver, and then it pops through that experience on the face of that person, on the face of that experience, and expresses itself to you. You have denied me. I am here. We reject it, right? Generally speaking, automatic, emotional, unconscious, underdeveloped rejection. And it continues to circle us and circle us. Maybe it circles us for a lifetime, right? Maybe you're a conscious, engaging person and it circles us for some months or a year, a few years. Shadow work is not easy. It's not something you do in a weekend. And you did shadow work like you went to hot yoga, right? It's not that. That's a start. It circles back around and circles back around. At some point, when you choose to engage that shadow, when you choose to look past the surface of what's happening here to say, where is my part in this? How is that me? How are you and I one, even though I totally disagree with this face, right? The shape, the face, the contours of this mask fade away, and this other part beneath that reveals itself. And it's not always love and light. It's not always something positive. It's not always something that feels good. But in the end, it's something that's potentially integrative and healthy for you, right, to see. And it also changes the karmic interaction of that relationship. So you're no longer fighting against someone for this issue about a thing that really pushes your buttons. You're really starting to engage the part of you whose button is pushed and looking at that part being transformed in yourself. And in turn, how that alleviates the tension of this experience that you're having in the world around you may or may not, entirely up to the other people involved in it, be healing or whatever for them, because it's not about us running around like handmaids trying to make sure that everyone else is spiritually evolved and everyone else is, at our level and everyone else is wherever. It's just our job to accept them at the level where they're at and act accordingly, right? Not vindictively, act accordingly. Where is so that's the book, that's the wealth, and then that's the dog. Because the dog is the part that understands that the true loyalty in the situation is to the recognition of the deeper self in ourselves and in each other. And to see the angry face, see the angry Buddha, see the angry aspects, see the scary parts as just parts. And beyond them, beyond these intensities, right, is a desire for belonging, right? And that dog energy, right, this dog energy says, you belong because I love you. It says, you belong because I love you. That is the wealth. That is the message in the book. You belong. I love you. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. This is Scott Smith. Thank you for watching another Saturday Service. Welcome to my altar. Welcome to my plants. We're backwards on this thing. This may be the last video that I do in this space. I could do one more possibly before I move on to the next one. Um, I am at starrandstonellc.com. You can find me at patreon.com/Scott K. Smith. That's SCOTT, the letter K, SMITH. That's where you get the sort of write-up and rendition of these things, and a little bit deeper sometimes on the readings. Thank you so much for watching. Whenever this is for you, may it arrive in the best way possible.